And we're going to have fires. That's the biggest worry that we've got in this vicinity, because we're in the lee of where all the prevailing winds come from, west, northwest. Now these fires start two ways. They're started by bushwalkers, people out in there. We've had to go out and do that. But most of the time it is by lightning strike.
Yeah, I was up under Sleeping Beauty in the day of the fires, and we seen the fireball coming down over the mountain. And I was right up in underneath there. A chap had a piggery up there, and I went up to help him, and luckily there was a little paddock in front of his house where his little milking shed was. He used to milk the cows feed the pigs, feed the milk to the pigs, and we seen the fireball. It was just like a great massive cricket ball bowling down the hill. And we laid down on the ground with our face on the ground, and luckily the paddock in front had been irrigated and was green. And we laid down and we tipped a can of milk over ourselves, and the fireball rolled over the top of us. It was just like a train coming over.
Well, it was very frightening, because there was no communications. Like phones were all out because we only had landlines, and they were all burnt down and so forth. And I was worried about my daughter, and I guess a lot of others would be the same. And as I say, we couldn't get down there, but because there was just that much chaos going on with the houses burning. They were down along the straits there. There was quite a few houses alight there. It was terrifying, really.
Well, I suppose it was at the time, but you didn't have much time to think about that. We just sort of said, oh, that wasn't too good,
No one knew who was safe and who wasn't.
Because this area here that we're in here now was devastated. So a lot of homes were burnt down, etc. But there again, across the Greater Valley, a lot of destruction. But the community all joined in and strived to overcome all those hardships.
The farmers all sort of turned up, like what I was saying there. I was with Orchardist, just down the road down there, with his tractor and his apple sprayer.
Well, that's it, that's all. You had no gear at all, right? And you just helped one another.
People helped each other in a big way. They had a New Zealand company, the government, and a New Zealand company called Keith Hay Homes. The Standard Case Company allowed Keith Hay Homes to build these temporary homes that could be moved on a truck, and that lasted for 2 or 3 years, easy, building the homes for people that had been lost their homes. And so that was a big thing in the valley. Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to see ones like the 67 one again, but anyhow, I don't want to see this one now with John, because the smoke must be knocking a lot of people around too.
Yeah. But the smoke was intense.
The smoke was pretty bad. Luckily, neither our kids or us have any
asthma
sort of
or anything
asthma, but we understand that fire is an ever-present danger.
Well, it was a very good exercise, and I'd recommend it to anyone to put in their car what's really important: passports, degrees, papers, the deeds to this house, all those wonderful documents, and then come back into the house and look around it. Do I really need all this other stuff?
It sort of violates what you see as being that safe space, which is your home, and this is my home, and I'm safe here, nothing's ever going to happen. And then when you have a fire burning a few hundred metres behind you for weeks on end, it destroys that concept of what is safe.
But then I think also, like if you want to look at it, it is, and it's good to go through the opportunity to grieve that and to deal with that traumatic kind of sense. But also it puts things in a lot of perspective. The reality is they're just houses. It's just grass. I mean, goodness me, I care very much for the trees. It's a great sadness to have lost so much wilderness, and I really, it's very sad. But in terms of like the way we become so attached to our possessions, you know, let's look at this. My children, my husband and my dog are safe, you know, and that is the only thing that you need to worry about.
I think my husband and I have this attitude that you cannot, whatever you do, you cannot go against nature. So whatever happens. So that's how we take it. So if we lost everything, so that's it. And we've got the attitude that if we came with nothing, so we can start from nothing.
Beautiful stories, like a man who'd worked here on helping me restore the front steps. You met Marcus. He rang me and he said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm in the evacuation centre at Huon Valley." Good, you got out that day. Next morning he rang me and said, "Pete, where are you?" And I said, "I told you, I'm in the evacuation centre, but where are you?" Now, he couldn't sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning over at Snug. He said to his wife, "I've got to get up. I'm going over to see if Pete's house was there." So he came from Snug, a lovely guy, but we didn't hardly know each other. He came down here and made sure the downpipes were blocked and the gutters were full. And then he was up in the centre at Huon Valley looking for me to see how I was. And that was the where are you in the centre? You know, so that's these are just angels in times of crisis.
One lady came in, she said, "You know, actually I'm sad." She said, "This is terrible, but I'm sad it's over." She said, "Because it was such an important part of my life. It gave me," you know, she'd been quite reflective. And she said, "It gave me a purpose, you know, like otherwise I'm sort of bumbling through days, but actually it gave me a real sense of, like, right, we've got to do this and we've got to get back organised and sort this out in the house and let's, you know, get prepared for something." You know, like she was actioned and she was like, she recognised that her life actually was pretty obviously not what she needed it to be. You know, we're in that wilderness and it's humbling to remind you that, you know, nature is an amazing and fantastic and powerful thing. And you're just this, you know, you're that inside the whole of that, you know, like I remember again, so I feel like I'm dropping all these names, but I was in Alaska and I was standing on the side of a huge lake looking out towards some bears, you know, on the other side and the vast Denali National Park, where I could see places where humans have never stood. You know, and I thought to myself at that point, I could die now, I could fall on the floor, and I would simply be absorbed into the earth and nothing would change. And it was the most beautiful, humbling experience to have just recognised how minute I am, if you like, that actually life doesn't revolve all around humans. You know, that nature is a vast and amazing power. And, you know, having a fire kind of come that close just kind of reminds you that we don't own it all. We're not all powerful. We can't control everything. It's quite useful to be reminded of that sometimes.